am the chair of a program at City College called Labor and Community Studies. We were created in the 70s as a resource for area unions, in particular as a collaboration between City College and the area union movement. And what we did for many years, what we still do, is we provide leadership and membership training for unions. If you want to get some training about how to better bargain a contract, or if you would like to learn better how to represent people who feel they've been treated unfairly at work, or you would like some training on how to have a healthier and safer workplace. All those things we call the nuts and bolts training, leadership training, organizer training. And we also have what we call big picture classes. U.S. working class history, globalization, the current economic situation, how does that particularly impact working people, government, politics, looked at how do we make change where we think changes are needed. Just that among other employment opportunities, community-based organizations, unions, they seem to do two things. They bring people up through the ranks, which is what they should be doing. The rank and file members get training, get staff jobs, run for office, get leadership positions. But they also hire outside staff people, and almost always they hire four-year college graduates. So we have a good working relation with our labor studies counterparts here at San Francisco State. There's a program at UC Santa Cruz called Community Studies. They have a new labor studies program at UC Santa Cruz as well. And we are also in that ballpark with urban studies, ethnic studies. We're sending folks to the four-year colleges. And so what our program has done is create a workers' rights class for the vocational programs. We're now labor and community studies, so we're also doing classes with formerly homeless people in the Tenderloin who live in hotels owned by the Community Housing Partnership. We teach them how to be organizers. And we're also experimenting with some environmental justice, environmental advocacy classes. We're doing a class now with Global Exchange on environmental advocacy careers. So those are the three things. We work with transfer students, with vocational programs, and we also work with our partners out there in the world of social justice, worker activism. So any questions on that? That's kind of our big picture. Right? Yes?
On that issue for, on job training and also for coming ahead as organizers and that, there's a lot of that out there that needs to be said and shown.
Okay.
There's a lot of jobs that are union jobs, and the shop stewards and sorry to say, you know, you have your secretary of treasury that see this and just overlook it.
So they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Right. So this is an interesting. When I'm out talking, we often find that there'll be some union members in our classes and some folks who are not in a unionized workplace. The non-union workers look enviously on the unionized workers. And the unionized workers are almost always complaining about how their union needs to do better, right? So what we do is we train folks, and if you want to run to be the president of a union, you're going to know how to do it because we've trained you, right? Unions are only as good as the people who are involved, you know, but if you have a unionized workplace, at least you've got your foot in the door for better conditions. For instance, let me give you an example. Tell me your name again. Valerie. Okay, Valerie is a great worker. She's been working at the Bill Shields restaurant for 10 years. Valerie's really good. No problems with her. But tell me your name.
Brian.
Brian. Brian is my nephew. He just got into San Francisco, and my sister called me and said, Bill, Brian's in town. He really needs a job. Okay, Valerie, you know what? You've been a good employee. But I'm sorry, I'm going to have to fire you. I'm going to give your job to my nephew, Brian. And the question is, can I do that? What do people think? How many people?
It depends on contract, right?
How many people think, okay, there's no test here, so we're grading this. How many people think, yes, I can do that? Put your hands up. How many people think, no, I can't do that? Put your hands up. How many people aren't sure? Put your hands up. Okay. All right, so the people who think yes, why do you think yes? Yes.
Because I heard before California is a free will state. Where
So we're getting technical legal terminology here.
Right.
Yeah, free will is close, but it's only one group's free will. Okay. Unbeknownst to most people, and we had a student, young man in one of our classes once, he said to us, you know what, I got written up, I got disciplined for coming to work late. That's my constitutional right to be late. Was he right or wrong? He was wrong. We had to disabuse him of that notion, right? Unfortunately, from my perspective as a workers' rights advocate, we are a country that is mainly an at-will employee country. And I mean by that the Supreme Court of the United States has upheld again and again in court cases that we are an at-will country. That means that we bias towards the employer. So, in an at-will, and this is most workplaces in the United States, and this is a big shock to people because aren't we a democratic country? Don't we have rights? Well, there's a problem with rights not extending into the workplace. Like there's this old story of immigrants from Finland, right, Northern Europe. They came over here in the 19th century. Their country had a king, kind of dictatorship. They came here, oh, I can be any religion I want or none. I can vote. Oh, it's freedom. But when they went to work, they found that they didn't have those rights at work. And that was a big shock to them. So the Supreme Court is again and again saying we're an at-will status society. That means that the employer can fire you at his or her will. You don't have to have a good reason or a bad reason. No reason. Your history. Bye-bye. Okay? The main exception to at-will status is what? Anybody know?
Union.
Right? It's called just cause. You're a just cause employee, which means that you can only be fired for what? A just cause, a good reason. Did I fire Valerie for a good reason? No. The main place you get just cause status is in a unionized workplace through a union collective bargaining agreement. Okay? Collectively bargained implies what? That you're a group bargaining. So one thing we try to instruct our students in is the fact that, by the way, this is not written in stone. This could change. We elect new politicians, we appoint new judges, the society shifts, we demand different things of our political structure. This could change. We can become a just cause society. So none of this is forever, okay? But your main place now, as a just cause employee, I'm represented by the teachers union at City College. They can't fire me unless they got a really good reason, right? I imagine Nikki probably has union protection here. Do you? Mm-hmm. Right. So does anybody here have union protection at your workplace? Where are you working, Valerie? Good. Okay. So just cause status means you can't be fired unless there's a good reason. So if the Bill Shields restaurant is non-union, nephew, you got the job. Valerie, you're out of here. Unionized workplace, I wouldn't even try it. If I did, what would Valerie do? She would file a grievance. There's a formal way to resolve disputes in unionized workplaces. It's a little bit like going to court. The member of the union and employee is not always right, but at least they get their day in court. Okay, so in this instance, if I actually did fire her and give her job to Brian in this unionized workplace, I lose for sure however long I want to fight this fight. And when I'm done fighting the fight, the judge, the arbitrator will tell me, give her job back if she wants it, pay her all the money you would have paid her in the meantime, pay her all the benefit payments you would have paid her in the meantime, make her whole, W-H-O-L-E, give her back all the money she should have gotten while she would have been working for you if you hadn't fired her improperly. Okay, so this is an important thing that you get with unionized status that you don't. You literally have more civil rights in a unionized workplace under our system than in a non-union workplace. By the way, an employer can voluntarily adopt a just cause status, but it is very rare. Why? Brian, why do you think it's rare?
Well, I mean, like, I look at the title, it's just cause. It's pretty hard to overturn that.
Right, they want, employers want power. I mean, I'm not going to demonize employers. There's decent employers out there, humane employers and so forth, but in our very competitive, cutthroat system, cut the labor costs, the workplace is generally very authoritarian. The main way that authoritarian structure of work is discounted is when you have a collective bargaining agreement. That means the workers as a group, I should say the other thing. So, so union, non-union, This is the big difference. We in the labor movement call this the union advantage. And I'm aware that unions are far from perfect, and there's plenty of complaints. But I'd just like to back up and approach that from this perspective. We call it the union advantage. One, you have just cause status. And two, in general, Felicia works at a non-union restaurant, you know, and Brother, tell me your name again.
Blue Grill.
Lou works in a union restaurant. And they do the same work. They're both food servers. Lou's going to make about 30% more pay than Alicia. About 30%, right? So in general, for the same work, different workplace, one union, one non-union, you can expect to make about 30% more pay and benefits. Why? Well, Don, how does that happen? Is this just these bosses are nicer, or what happens there?
Knowledge of situation where you're working at.
Right. You got what? You got power.
Power.
Right? So even though, you know, we call our classes about labor relations, which is not a very sexy title, you know, it's really about power. It's about power relations, okay? Power. And do we actually get to have some, you know, what they thought in the 1930s during the great uprisings of the workers of the United States, where millions of workers forced these giant corporations to recognize their unions and give them better, you know, working conditions and wages and so forth. That was a big shift in power. They called it industrial democracy, actually bringing democracy into these huge factories, which we still have one in the Bay Area. You go over there to Fremont, there's a huge auto plant, but now we're talking about colleges, we're talking about hotels. The giant downtown hotels are kind of like vertical factories, you know. Hilton Hotel's got like 600-700 employees, huge giant industrial kitchens. You know, these are the factories of our service sector economy. Even though there are still factories in the United States. And where the factories are in China, you know, workers are organizing, workers are agitating. So it's all about power. So this is one thing we try and do. We try and help students learn their rights, so when they get out there, they're going to be less likely to be taken advantage of. And then when we do that in a focused way with Young Workers United or with Local 2, the Hotel Restaurant Workers Union, we're helping kick that up to the next level. So to answer your question about your friend, workers' rights, there are some laws that provide a floor of workers' rights that unions build up from. Like for instance, tell me your name again?
Gordon.
Gordon, why would unions are usually fighting hard to get the minimum wage raised? Every time there's a debate about should we raise the minimum wage, by the way, Gordon, what's the minimum wage?
Anytime at this bill?
Or, I mean, what is the concept of the minimum wage?
The minimum that person gets for working.
Right, and who says what the minimum is?
The government.
Right, the government. And usually it's the federal government or the state government. Gordon, can the state of California require a minimum wage higher than the United States?
Yeah.
That's right. Can they go lower?
No.
No. Okay. Now, mostly it's states and the federal government, but we are the first city in the country, the first, one of the few still, that has a municipal minimum wage, which is now what, 9? Right, that's, you know, and Young Workers United and others fought to get the voters to vote.
No, what I wanted to say was, with the power, it's been going on for years, and we've had it with the unions, like you were saying earlier. And we started losing that right around the 70s. Because I had my trucking business, and owner-operators, we were going out and trying to get together with the unions. And we held out for over 30 days. And we had notes on trucks and what have you. But from those days on, a lot of these people, that the warehouses and that, what they did, they say they went bankrupt and came back under another name, just to break the unions.
There's all kinds of tricks. What Lou's is saying is that there's a million, this density is not only happening because we took the factories to China. You know, it's because we the employers openly attack unions. Employers spend about $1 billion a year in this country on anti-union activity. And it's supposed to be, Valerie's supposed to be able to get together with her workers, fellow workers, we want to union, we don't. You say yes, boss is supposed to negotiate a contract. It used to be almost automatic now. Most of those union election victories do not turn into contracts. That's why we have a new law in the Congress. Wherever we think about the Democratic Party, if we get somebody in there who will sign it as the president, it's called the Employee Free Choice Act. That would make it possible. One of the reasons Canada has higher union density is because their law has said, don't have to go through a whole vote thing that the employers fight for 10 years and then nobody's left from the union organizing drive. You just sign a card, the majority of people sign a card, bargain the contract. So, Employee Free Choice Act. Okay, Alicia, I've talked too much.
Thank you, Bill. I just want to take a minute from Alicia. If I can borrow a minute of your time, I really want to reiterate what Bill said about the Living Wage Coalition. This is an organization that really helps workers fight for their rights. Our co-chair couldn't come today because he's at a rally happening in Hillsborough that La Raza Centro Legal is organizing as a rally and press conference because there was a domestic worker working 13-hour days, 6 days a week for a very well-off family in Atherton, and the woman was not being paid fairly. So instead of cooperating with the woman and giving her fair wages, they refused, and they are protesting at this family's home today. So that's why our co-chair came here, because he's there protesting in solidarity with La Raza Centro Legal. Anyhow, so Living Wage Coalition is a grassroots organization.
Las demandas del pueblo son claras y justas y hay que cumplirlas.
The people's demands are clear, are just, they must be complied with.
Son no a la discriminación en contra de los inmigrantes.
They are no to discrimination against migrants.
No a los Minumen y otros grupos anti-inmigrantes.
No to the Minutemen and other anti-immigrant groups.
Alto a la militarización de la frontera.
Stop the militarization of the borders.
Plenos derechos para todos los trabajadores.
Full rights for all workers.
Que termine la guerra, no más guerra.
The end of the war, no more war.
Es un grave pecado matar.
It is a great sin.
Vamos a la Biblia, al libro de Éxodo, capítulo 20, versículo 13. Ahí uno de los 10 mandamientos dice, no debes asesinar.
It is a great sin to kill. It is in the Bible. You should not kill.
Por lo tanto, ese es un grave pecado entre los ojos de Dios y que termine la guerra.
Before the eyes of God, that is a great sin. The war must stop.
A esta embestida y opresores de los enemigos del pueblo.
So that we can face this strategy, this attack being done by the powers.
Debemos de luchar por lo que el pueblo desea y necesita.
We must struggle for what the people need.
Retroceder nunca, rendirnos jamás.
Retreating, never. Giving up, never.
Never, never.
Never, never.
Siempre adelante.
Always ahead, forward.
Y como decía el gran líder César Chávez, a luchar unidos, sí se puede, sí se puede.
As our great leader Cesar Chavez said,
Se puede,
sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede.
Es muy importante apoyar a los miles de jóvenes patriotas que salen a la lucha en defensa de sus padres.
It is very important to support our patriotic youth who's coming out to the streets in defense of their parents.
Pues con nuestra lucha por la justicia y los derechos, estamos contribuyendo, aprendiendo y enseñando mucho a los demás.
Through our struggle for dignity and rights, we're also showing lessons to many others.
Queremos ligación con derechos, justicia y libertad para todas las familias, trabajadores y comunidades inmigrantes.
We want legalization with full rights for all migrants, for all workers, for the whole family.
No a las deportaciones, no a la migración.
No to deportation, no to the immigration authorities.
Para finalizar, Me despido con la famosa frase, hasta la victoria siempre.
To end, I say hasta la victoria siempre.
Muchas gracias al compañero Javier López. Sí se puede, por supuesto que podemos lograr una amnistía incondicional para todos. Y desde El Salvador, la compañera...
Reclamamos y somos nosotros, todos los inmigrantes, quienes los establecemos. Es insoportable.
Pero es difícil, no tenemos las oportunidades que todos los demás. Hoy estoy aquí para hablar por todos mis compañeros. Queremos educación igual para todos, es nuestro derecho. We want equal education for all of us.
The answer is pretty simple. Because we demand money from the government for our future education. We do not want to end up in prison because we're students and success is our future. The world is in our hands. Do not be afraid. We are the future. Thank you.
I feel it is important for us to be here today because I feel like
Mi nombre es Luis. En este día quiero agradecer a toda la gente que se ha hecho presente para este evento, en el cual deseamos una amnistía justa y legal para toda la gente. Muchas gracias.
Si dice que hoy es porque la amnistía es un derecho humano. Por supuesto, merecemos amnistía. Pero ¿qué vale amnistía sin buenos trabajos? ¿Qué va a tener una ciudad de santuario si es $2,000 cada mes para alquilar un apartamento? ¿Qué vale este sueño americano si la policía y la mira nos están siguiendo cada noche y cada día? Estoy aquí representando el Jordan School for Equity, una escuela pública aquí en San Francisco. Quieren lograr sus sueños. La herencia mía, la herencia negra, es una de resistencia y de orgullo. Y yo sé de cada uno de nosotros caminamos con nuestras propias herencias, nuestras propias responsabilidades para mejorar nuestro mundo para el futuro. Como dice el revolucionario Abu Jamal, estamos on a move porque la lucha sigue. So, in short, they say that today is a day for immigrants, but I don't agree. Today is not a day for immigrants or just for black folks or just for Asian folks. Today is a day for all of us who are oppressed by this capitalist system to come together and say no. No, America, you're not going to deport the people we love. You're not going to deport our grandmothers and our cousins and our sons. No, America, you're not going to divide us between black and Latino, between the youth and the adults. We do not believe your lies, America.
At National Alliance for Filipino Northern California.
Today, May 1st, on the International Workers' Day, a warmest greetings from the Filipino Community Center and National Alliance for Filipino Concerns to everyone.
Ako si Bernadette. Kabilang ako sa 3,200 na Pilipinong umalis sa araw-araw. Ay, ang isang anim na miyembro ng pamilya, kailangan niya ng 800 piso na humigit Filipinos
leaving our country every day to find livelihood so we can provide a better future for our children. Right now in the Philippines, unemployment is really rampant and wages are extremely low, really low, or not skyrocketing. For a family of 6 to live, we will need 800 pesos every day, which is about $20. Which is used by 50% Philippine economic growth.
Sa kabila ng ganitong kalagayan, walang binibigay na suporta ang gobyernong Pilipinas para ipagtanggol ang kagalingan at karapatan natin. Araw-araw ay mayroon na mga pagkay. Ang iba ay nakakulong dahil sa napagbibintangan. Ang iba ay kumakaroon ng mga abuso at pagmamaltrato mula sa aming amo.
Despite of this situation, our government is
tulad na hindi nagbayad sa takawang pero ito ay nagdudulot ng
the anti-coalition Act Now Stop War and End Racism. We're here in solidarity with the workers of all nations and ethnicities to have a higher wage and better working conditions. Immigrant rights